The arrival. The Prion Chief Counselor's 6 eyes bulged with utter shock as a massive human fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Prioria Prime, dwarfing even the planet's impressive orbital defense grid. Only a moment earlier, the Galactic Council had been confidently dismissing humanity as a primitive newcomer, a disruptive but ultimately harmless species stumbling haphazardly into the stars. The sudden appearance of this enormous armada, bristling with weapons that even the ancient Priori Empire had never conceived of, shattered that delusion forever. In the gleaming central chamber of the Council Citadel, pandemonium erupted. Insectoid Kizik clicked their mandibles in agitation. Reptilian saurians hissed with fury. Avian quarians fluffed their feathers, and aquatic hydran tentacles twitched spasmodically. Even the normally serene plant-like florins and incorporeal luminates crackled with anxiety. Silence. Counselor Crayon slammed a fist on the ornate table, his deep baritone reverberating. The male Pan's gray skin flushed darker as he tried to wrestle some order from the chaos. Intelligence reports streamed across his ocular implants, each more dire than the last. As the hubbub died down to a murmur, Crayon gestured sharply, and a holographic star map snapped into focus above them, showing the aggressive expansion of human territory over just the last century. Colonies, shipyards, fortresses, a relentless red tide engulfing vast seas of space that had remained unchanged for millennia. The humans have advanced far more rapidly than we ever imagined, Crayon said gravely, manipulating the display. Sensor data flickered past, highlighting human technological leaps that should have taken a dozen species centuries to perfect. Impossibly efficient supply lines, devastatingly powerful ship-mounted weapons, unnaturally fast and agile fighter craft. We assumed their aggression in border skirmishes was simple barbarian blustering, the Chief Counselor continued, a child's tantrum to be swatted aside. We were wrong. This, he jabbed a finger at the blockade around their very homeworld, is not a tantrum. This is a declaration of intent. Humanity means to challenge us here and now. If we cannot break this fleet, cannot repel them, Prioria Prime burns. The entire Prion Empire, backbone of galactic civilization, since time immemorial, would collapse. What horrors would spill forth into that void? The Counselor shuddered to imagine. We must hold the line here, Kron declared, voice hard as lux and steel. For the sake of every species, for the very soul of our galaxy, this human invasion must be stopped, no matter the cost. For once, the Galactic Council had no dissenting voice, only grim silence and the distant thunder of human warships poised to unleash an unthinkable apocalypse. The human Armada. Light years away from the chaos erupting in the Galactic Council chambers, the bridge of the human flagship TDS Prometheus thrummed with focused activity. Admiral Gary Parker stood tall at the command console, his piercing blue eyes scanning the tactical displays around him. His hand-picked bridge crew worked with smooth efficiency, coordinating the approach of their formidable fleet. To Parker's right, Commander Jack Reynolds monitored the ship's defensive systems, ensuring the shields and point defense turrets were primed for any potential hostilities. On the Admiral's left, Lieutenant Commander Maria Hernandez managed the fleet's communications, her fingers flying across the console as she relayed orders to the accompanying vessels. At the helm, Senior Chief Petty Officer Mike Thompson guided the Prometheus with steady hands, his weathered face a mask of concentration. The bridge crew moved like a well-oiled machine, a testament to the countless battles they had fought together against the Priorians and other hostile alien races. Admiral Parker himself was a legend among the Terran Defense Forces, a veteran of numerous engagements. He had earned a reputation as a brilliant tactician and fearless leader. Now, the Terran Defense Council had entrusted him with a mission of utmost importance, to confront the Galactic Council and secure humanity's rightful place among the dominant powers of the galaxy. As the Prometheus and its 500-strong fleet dropped out of hyperspace on the fringes of the Prion system, Admiral Parker turned to Lieutenant Commander Hernandez. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council," he ordered, his voice steady and commanding. "It's time we had a little chat." Hernandez nodded crisply, her fingers already dancing across the console. "Channel open, sir." Parker stepped forward, his image transmitted to the council chambers. "Members of the Galactic Council," he began, his tone leaving no room for argument. "I am Admiral Gary Parker of the Terran Defense Forces. I demand an immediate audience with the Council to discuss matters of galactic importance. The fate of us all may very well depend on your willingness to negotiate with humanity as equals." There was a tense pause as the council members, still reeling from the sudden appearance of the human armada, conferred amongst themselves. Finally, a response crackled over the comm. "Admiral Parker," came the deep, grudging voice of Chief Counselor Cran. "The Council will hear your demands. You are granted permission to approach Prioria Prime under a temporary truce. But be warned, any aggression will be met with the full might of the Prian Empire." Parker allowed himself a small, grim smile. "Understood, Counselor. I look forward to our discussion." As the channel closed, the Admiral turned to his crew. "Helm, set a course for Prioria Prime. Tactical. Maintain high alert status, but do not, I repeat, do not engage unless fired upon. It's time to show these aliens what humanity is truly capable of." The Prometheus surged forward, flanked by a small contingent of escort ships, as it made its way towards the heart of the Prian Empire. On the bridge, Admiral Parker stood resolute, ready to face the Council and fight for humanity's future among the stars. The Council confrontation. As Admiral Parker's shuttle touched down on the Prian planet's surface, the tension in the landing bay was palpable. A heavily armed squad of Terran Marines quickly deployed, securing the perimeter with practiced efficiency. Commander Reynolds took his place at the Admiral's side, his hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. A group of Prian guards, their insectoid features unreadable, escorted the human delegation through the winding corridors of the Council Citadel. The air grew thick with anticipation as they approached the central chamber where the fate of the galaxy would be decided. The massive doors swung open, revealing the gathered council members. Admiral Parker strode forward, his steps confident and purposeful. He met the wary gazes of the assembled aliens with an unwavering stare, his posture radiating an unshakable resolve. Crayon, the Prian intelligence chief, stepped forward, his mandibles clicking with barely restrained hostility. "Admiral Parker," he hissed, "you dare to threaten the Galactic Council with your primitive fleet. You humans have grown too bold." Admiral Parker smiled thinly. "Chief Counselor Crayon, I assure you there is nothing primitive about our fleet or our technology." He tapped a command into his wrist console, and a holographic display sprang to life above the council table. Schematics and test footage of advanced human weapon systems played out in vivid detail. Antimatter torpedoes capable of annihilating entire battleships, energy shields that shrugged off the most powerful plasma cannons, and sleek warships that danced through space with impossible agility. For decades, humanity has been quietly advancing, Admiral Parker explained. "We have developed a new form of faster-than-light travel that renders your early warning systems useless. Our ships can strike anywhere at any time, and as you can see, our weapons are more than a match for anything the Prian Empire can field." Shocked murmurs rippled through the council chamber. The Saurian delegate slammed his fist on the table, his scales flushing an angry red. "This is an outrage. The humans have been deceiving us all along." "No," Admiral Parker countered calmly. "We have simply been preparing to take our rightful place among the great powers of the galaxy, and now we demand that the Council recognize humanity's sovereignty and right to expand. We will no longer be relegated to the sidelines of galactic affairs." The Council erupted into chaos, with some members calling for immediate retaliation against the human fleet, while others argued for a more cautious approach. Crayon silenced the clamor with a sharp gesture, his eyes glittering with malice. "So you speak boldly, Admiral," he said, "but words are cheap. If humanity truly wishes to be recognized as a great power, Then you must prove your strength in the traditional Prion way, through ritual combat. Commander Reynolds tensed, his hand tightening on his weapon, but Admiral Parker raised a hand to stay him. "I accept your challenge, Counselor," he said evenly. "Name your champion, and I will face them in single combat." Gasps of surprise echoed through the chamber. Even Commander Reynolds looked stunned by the Admiral's decision, but Gary Parker stood firm, his gaze locked with Kran's. He knew that this was humanity's moment, a chance to prove beyond any doubt that they were a force to be reckoned with. The die had been cast. The fate of humanity and perhaps the entire galaxy would be decided in the ancient rite of ritual combat, and Admiral Gary Parker was ready to fight for his species' future among the stars. The duel. The massive arena primaris loomed before Admiral Parker as he strode through the gate, the Terran Marines at his back. Tens of thousands of alien spectators packed the stands, a cacophony of clicks, hisses, and trills filling the air. Priorians, Saurians, Florans, it seemed the entire Galactic Council had turned out to witness this momentous battle. Across the sand-strewn arena floor, Crayon emerged from the opposite gate. The Prion intelligence chief was an imposing figure, towering nearly 8 feet tall, his body sheathed in a thick chitinous exoskeleton, scars from countless battles etched into the dark carapace. In his four-fingered hands, he gripped a massive energy blade, its crackling edge casting eerie shadows across his insectoid features. Admiral Parker, by contrast, looked almost diminutive. He wore his standard-issue Terran combat armor, a lightweight polymer weaved, designed more for shipboard firefights than ritual combat. At his side hung a simple plasma sword, its blue-white blade a pale imitation of Crayon's fearsome weapon. As the two combatants approached the center of the arena, the differences in their sizes and armaments became starkly apparent. The odds, it seemed, were heavily stacked in Cran's favor. A bell tolled, its deep boom echoing through the arena. The ritual combat had begun. Crayon wasted no time, surging forward with a speed that belied his bulk. His energy blade sang through the air, a searing arc of destruction aimed at the human admiral's head. But Parker was quick. He dove into a roll, the sizzling blade passing inches above him. Coming up to his feet, he ignited his own sword, the plasma blade thrumming to life. Crayon pressed the attack, his powerful blows raining down like hammer strikes. Parker gave ground, his lighter armor allowing him to stay just ahead of the Prion's onslaught. He ducked and wove, using his agility to avoid the worst of the blows, but he couldn't evade forever. Crayon's blade scored a glancing hit, searing through the combat armor on Parker's shoulder. The Admiral gritted his teeth against the pain, the acrid scent of burnt polymer filling his nostrils. Seeing an opening, Parker lunged, his plasma sword licking out. The tip scored across Cran's thorax, leaving a glowing welt in the chitin. The Prion hissed in pain and anger. The battle raged on, the two champions trading blows back and forth across the arena floor. Parker scored several more hits, each one weakening Cran's exoskeleton further. But the Prion gave as good as he got, his energy blade leaving a network of scorched lines across the Admiral's armor. Crayon, enraged by the human's surprising skill, redoubled his assault. His blade moved in a blur, a relentless barrage that forced Parker back. The Admiral's plasma sword flashed desperately as he tried to parry the blows. Then, with a sizzling clash, Crayon's blade sliced through Parker's sword hilt. The plasma blade flickered and died, the ruined weapon spinning the way across the sand. Parker found himself disarmed, Crayon's energy blade at his throat. The Prion loomed over the human, mandibles clicking in triumph. He raised his blade for the killing stroke, and Parker moved. His hand darted to a hidden recess in his armor's wrist, drawing out a compact plasma blaster. The weapon had been a closely guarded secret, a last-ditch option. Parker brought the blaster up and fired all in one lightning motion. The concentrated plasma bolt struck Cran's exoskeleton at a weakened joint, blasting through the chitin. The Prion staggered, his blade falling from suddenly nerveless fingers. Crayon's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked down into the smoking hole in his thorax. He toppled backward, his massive body crashing to the arena sand. The plasma bolt had pierced his heart. The Prion intelligence chief was dead before he hit the ground. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then the arena erupted. The Prion spectators surged to their feet, hissing and chittering in fury. The human contingent, in contrast, roared their approval, cheering their victorious champion. In the center of the chaos, Admiral Parker stood over his fallen foe, the plasma blaster still gripped in his hand. He had won the ritual combat, and with it, a chance for humanity to claim its rightful place on the galactic stage. But as the enraged Priorians began to surge toward the arena floor, the Admiral knew that his battle was far from over. Diplomatic maneuvering. As Admiral Parker strode back into the council chamber, flanked by his Marine escort, the scene that greeted him was one of utter chaos. The various alien delegates were in a frenzy, shouting and gesticulating wildly. The Prion contingent, in particular, seemed on the verge of outright violence. High Counselor Zahn, his exoskeleton still glistening with Crayon's blood, surged to his feet. "This is an outrage," he bellowed, his mandibles clacking furiously. "The human has murdered our champion in cold blood. We demand retribution." A chorus of chittering agreement rose from the other Praetorians, some even going so far as to draw their energy blades, the weapons humming ominously. Admiral Parker held up his hands, his expression calm but firm. "Counselors, please," he said, his voice cutting through the din. "I acted in self-defense, as the rules of ritual combat allow. Crayon fought honorably, but in the end, I emerged victorious." The human's words did little to quell the Praetorians' fury. Zahn pointed a trembling claw at Parker, his compound eyes blazing with hatred. "You used a cowardly trick, a hidden weapon. You humans have no honor." The other council members, while not as overtly hostile as the Praetorians, looked upon Parker with a mixture of fear and suspicion. The display of human technology and combat prowess had clearly shaken them. Sensing an opportunity, Parker pressed on. "Counselors, I come to you now not as a conqueror, but as a potential ally. Humanity seeks not to dominate, but to cooperate." He took a step forward, his gaze sweeping the chamber. "I propose a new alliance between the Terran Confederation and the Galactic Council, one based on mutual respect, trade, and technological exchange. In return for recognizing humanity's sovereignty and right to expand, we are willing to share some of our most advanced breakthroughs." Parker gestured to Commander Reynolds, who tapped a command into his wrist console. A holographic display flickered to life, showcasing schematics of human ships and technology. "Our new faster-than-light drive could revolutionize trade and exploration for all species," Parker explained, "and our energy shield technology could provide unparalleled protection for your ships and colonies." A murmur rippled through the council as the members considered the human's offer. Some looked intrigued, others skeptical, but all recognized the potential benefits of an alliance with such a technologically advanced species. Zahn, however, was not swayed. "You think you can buy our forgiveness with trinkets?" he sneered. "Crayon's death must be avenged." Parker met the Praetor's furious gaze unflinchingly. "I understand your grief, Counselor, but more bloodshed will solve nothing. As a show of good faith, I have ordered the Terran fleet to stand down. We are even prepared to assist in repairing any damage our sudden arrival may have caused." For a long moment, Zahn glared at the human admiral, his claws twitching as if eager to tear into Parker's flesh. But then, slowly, he lowered his head. "Very well," he ground out. "The Prion delegation will consider your proposal." As the council session adjourned, Parker and his team wasted no time. They split off to corner individual council members, engaging in intense, hushed negotiations. Alliances were forged, trade deals struck, and promises of technological exchange made. Slowly but surely, Admiral Parker was weaving a web of diplomacy that would secure humanity's place in the galaxy. It would not be an easy road, he knew. Trust would have to be earned, old rivalries and prejudices overcome. But for the first time in history, the future looked bright for both humanity and the Galactic Council. A new era of cooperation and prosperity beckoned, and Admiral Gary Parker would be at the forefront of it all. Covert operations. Amidst the tense negotiations and diplomatic maneuvering, Admiral Parker slipped away to a secluded conference room deep within the bowels of the TDS Prometheus. Waiting for him was a cloaked figure, his reptilian features obscured beneath a heavy hood. As the door hissed shut behind him, the figure turned, revealing the scaled visage of Ambassador Rexar, the Saurian representative to the Galactic Council. Parker had arranged this clandestine meeting through a series of encrypted transmissions, knowing that the information the Saurian possessed could be the key to securing humanity's position in the galaxy. Admiral Parker, Rexar hissed, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Parker nodded, his expression guarded. "Ambassador, your message said you had information that could be of great value to humanity." Rexar's eyes glittered in the dim light. Indeed, for too long, the Saurians have suffered under the yoke of Prion oppression. They demand tribute, resources, technology, and they crush any resistance with brutal efficiency. The Saurian leaned forward, his claws clicking against the table. "But with your help, we could change that. Your victory over Crayon has shown that the Priorians are not invincible. If we work together, we could overthrow their dominance and free not just the Saurians, but all the oppressed species of the galaxy." Parker frowned, considering the ambassador's words. "An alliance against the Priorians is a tempting proposition," he admitted, "but we have to tread carefully. Open rebellion could jeopardize the peace we've just achieved. It's a fragile thing." Rexar waved a dismissive hand. "Peace. There can be no true peace as long as the Priorians hold the whip. But I understand your hesitation." The Saurian reached into his robes, withdrawing a data chip. "This contains sensitive information about Prion military installations, supply lines, and key infrastructure. I'm willing to share it with you in exchange for your support in our future uprising." Parker took the chip, turning it over in his fingers. The information it contained could be invaluable, giving humanity a critical edge over their Prion rivals. "But the price. I can't commit to open rebellion," Parker said at last. "But perhaps there's another way. A covert operation to weaken the Priorians from within. We have stealth technology, infiltration teams. We could strike at their key facilities, sabotage their infrastructure." Rexar's eyes widened, a glimmer of hope in their depths. "And in the meantime, you could provide us with advanced weapons, training. Help us build our strength in secret until the time is right." Parker nodded. "Exactly. We undermine the Priorians, empower the Saurians and other oppressed species, and when the moment comes, you'll be ready to strike." The Saurian grinned, his teeth gleaming in the shadows. "I like the way you think, Admiral. This could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Parker turned to Lieutenant Commander Hernandez. "Maria," he said, handing her the data chip, "I need you to verify this information, and then start putting together a covert ops team. We're going to be doing some delicate work behind enemy lines." Hernandez took the chip, her eyes alight with anticipation. "Understood, Admiral. I'll get our best people on it." As the plan began to take shape, Admiral Parker couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking a razor's edge. One misstep, and the fragile peace he had fought so hard for could shatter, plunging the galaxy into a war unlike any it had ever seen. But if they succeeded, if they could free the oppressed and bring true balance to the galaxy, it would be worth any risk. The game was on, and the stakes had never been higher. The extraction. Deep within the Prion research facility, a young scientist named Zaxxas hunched over his workstation, his compound eyes flickering with excitement. The compact fusion reactor prototype pulsed with a soft blue glow, its sleek casing belying the incredible power contained within. Zaxxas had spent years working on this groundbreaking technology, pouring his brilliant mind into its creation. But as he looked around at the oppressive walls of the facility, at the armed guards patrolling the corridors, a sense of disillusionment settled in his thorax. The Prian government had become increasingly authoritarian, crushing dissent and hoarding resources, and the Galactic Council, once a beacon of hope, now seemed impotent in the face of Prian aggression. Zaxxas knew he had to act. Steeling himself, he activated a secret comms channel, one he had painstakingly encrypted. Admiral Parker of the Terran Confederation. He clicked in accented Galactic standard. "I am Zaxxas, a Prian scientist. I have a proposition for you." Light years away, aboard the TDS Prometheus, Admiral Parker studied the message with keen eyes. A Prian defector offering advanced technology. It seemed almost too good to be true. But as he reviewed Zaxxas' schematics, his eyes widened. This fusion reactor, it was light years ahead of anything the Terrans or even the Praetorians currently had. With this tech, humanity could gain a decisive advantage. "Commander Reynolds," Parker barked, his decision made. "Assemble a strike team. We're going to extract this scientist." Reynolds snapped a crisp salute. "Aye, sir. I'll coordinate with our Saurian allies. Their commandos will be invaluable for this op." As the strike team geared up in the armory, tension mixed with anticipation. They checked their plasma rifles, strapped on nano-weave armor. This mission could change everything. The Saurian commandos were already waiting in the hangar bay, their scaled faces grim with determination. As the Terran Marines boarded the stealth dropship, Reynolds clasped forearms with the Saurian leader. "For the future," the commando hissed. Reynolds nodded. "For the future." With a shimmer of active camouflage, the dropship slipped out of the Prometheus Bay, rocketing towards the Prian research base. In the cockpit, Senior Chief Thompson guided the craft with expert precision, his jaw set in concentration. The dropship settled into a hidden crevice, its ramp lowering silently. Reynolds and his team emerged into the airless void, mag boots clanking on the rocky surface. At the airlock control panel, a Saurian slicer got to work, his claws dancing over the keys. With a hiss of pressurization, the airlock cycled open. They were in. But as they emerged into the corridor beyond, alarms blared to life. Prian guards boiled out of side passages, plasma rifles crackling. "Contact front," Reynolds bellowed, dropping into a firing stance. Blue plasma bolts stitched the walls as the team fought their way deeper into the facility. A Saurian commando took a hit, his armor sizzling. A Terran Marine dragged him into cover, slapping a nano-solve patch over the wound. "Push forward," Reynolds urged, lobbing a plasma grenade. The explosion ripped through a knot of Prian guards, buying them precious seconds. Hacking through blast doors, they raced into the heart of the research wing. Zaxxas was there, waiting anxiously, the fusion reactor clutched to his thorax. "I knew you would come," he clicked, relief palpable. Reynolds grinned fiercely. "Thank us later. We're not out of this yet." Alarms howled as they fought their way back to the airlock. Zaxxas shielded in their midst. Prian reinforcements were pouring in, the air thick with plasma fire. At the airlock, Thompson brought the dropship swooping in, its hull pitted by defensive fire. "Get in, now." They piled aboard, Prian bolts sizzling past as the ramp sealed shut. Thompson punched the engines to full burn, the inertial compensators straining. Prian fighters scrambled to pursue, their engines flaring. Plasma cannons fat fire, stitching lines of destruction across the void. Thompson jinked and wove, coaxing every iota of speed and agility from the dropship. The Saurian door gunners returned fire, their heavy plasma repeaters chewing into the Prian formation. One fighter shattered in a ball of flame, another spun away, leaking atmosphere. But more kept coming, their cannons relentless. Warning indicators screamed in the cockpit as Thompson gritted his teeth, holding course. Just a little further. With a bone-shaking roar, the dropship slammed into the Prometheus landing bay, skidding across the deck in a shower of sparks. They had made it. As the strike team disembarked, supporting a shaken but exhilarated Zaxxas, Admiral Parker strode forward, his eyes locked on the fusion reactor gleaming in the scientist's grasp. "Dr. Zaxxas, I presume," Parker said, offering a hand. "Welcome to the Terran Confederation. Let's talk about this technology of yours." In a secure briefing room, Zaxxas laid out the true extent of his creation. "This fusion reactor is only the beginning," he explained, his voice trembling with excitement. "The principles it uses, they could revolutionize propulsion, energy weapons, shields. Given time and resources, I believe I can develop ships and weapons far beyond anything the galaxy has seen." Parker leaned forward, his eyes alight. "And what were the Priorians planning to do with this technology?" Zaxxas shuddered, his antennae drooping. "They wanted to create a new class of warship, one equipped with unimaginably powerful weapons and defenses. With such ships, they could crush any resistance, dominate the galaxy utterly." The Admiral nodded grimly. "That cannot be allowed to happen. Dr. Zaxxas, you will have every resource the Terran Confederation can provide. We must unlock the full potential of your technology before the Priorians realize what they have lost." As Zaxxas was escorted to his new lab, already buzzing with ideas, Parker turned to his officers. "This is a game changer, people. If we can integrate this fusion tech into our own ships and weapons, we might just gain the edge we need to check Prion aggression and ensure a free future for the galaxy." He straightened, his gaze hardening. "But make no mistake, this is also a race against time. The Priorians will not take this loss lightly. We must be ready for anything." The bridge crew nodded, their expressions mirroring their admiral's determination. The stakes had just been raised, the board reset, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. In the heart of the TDS Prometheus, a new front had opened up in the Shadow War, a war fought not with plasma cannons and stealth ships, but with the raw power of innovation and scientific discovery.